Welcome back to part 2 of our conversation with Gem Fadling. Join us as Gem shares the beautiful facets of living in community. We have both listened to your podcast called I Can Do That, and we learned that you ventured into podcasting in your 50s, and that really piqued our interest. What are some of the pitfalls and even positives that you have experienced in embarking on this adventure at this time later in life? And would you encourage women in this season to embrace their God-given design, and maybe how would they delve into that maybe more?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, this has really been a process for me. I'm getting ready to turn 60 in about a week.
Okay.
I've basically, thank you. I have basically spent my 50s in this process that you're talking about, because we started Unhurried Living, I was probably about 52.
Okay.
And so definitely, second half of life, right? And depending on when you started midlife journey. But that was a time, a season that a lot of women are kind of enlivening or awakening afresh. You can't say this across the board, but you basically have the first half of life, you're building the structure of yourself, and then there's midlife. And usually in those times, for a lot of women, it's career or it's children or all of the above.
Yes.
But I found myself at that place now where the kids were grown and more time. And then I had this energy. And the dreaming started happening again. And it just happened that my husband and I were making this decision to start this ministry about that time. And so I had a container that could hold all of what I wanted to hopefully pour out. So I know that doesn't happen for everybody in that way, but everybody has a version of the second half of life for themselves. And so for women, I think at some point in there, somewhere in your 50s, you got to start believing that who God made you to be is wonderful and needed and capable. And so I didn't come ready made into this. There was just enough confidence to move into it, but I had to overcome all the hurdles that everyone would have, the imposter syndrome, the fears, but it happened all at the same time, right? I was also learning to just step into my own voice, accept who I am, and offer that. While also being scared most of the time, because all the voices we're talking about, what are people going to think? Who am I? I'm just a 55-year-old woman. Who cares what I have to say? All the voices that are coming in there. But there was something inside of me that was humming louder than all of that. And I really think it was the spirit. The spirit enlivened within that wanted me to love and to serve, which is my heart's desire, right?
Yes. Yes.
So you guys know that overcomes then all the fears and the trepidations, because it's like, I have to share. I have to share.
Right.
So I would say some of the pitfalls was that because I had so much energy and because I have a lot of ideas, there were times when I found myself really pushing too hard. Pushing myself and ending up either anxious or exhausted. And that would happen cyclically. And so that's just life. So I kept catching myself, and God was working with me on that. So those are some of the pitfalls. Perfectionism would show up, right? All the things we know. Oh, I didn't do that right. And oh, this isn't right. And all of that. So those are some of the pitfalls, but at some point in there, I probably had some attitude of, what have I got to lose? Right? I may as well just give what I've got and offer it to anyone who will listen. So I know that's kind of a mishmash of an answer, but I really think that's how it is, right?
Yes. And I'm listening and I'm thinking, we've had this conversation.
Exactly. Yes. We feel like kindred spirits with what you're saying for sure, because it's all that we've gone through, having started this just 3 years ago. So we were right in that same boat, and feeling a call to do it, but also all of the humbling that goes along with.
Oh, goodness. I'll tell you another pitfall that shows up. And I applaud you ladies for doing exactly what you're doing. I think women should do it. Just offer what you have, and it can morph and change over time. That's okay.
Yes.
I something that really snuck in there was, and I'll just name it what I named it, which was the search for fame and fortune, which is silly, right? When you're in ministry, but there is a way in which this is our livelihood, this is our job, and so we have to make money. So then the fears about that, alive, and then you're like, oh, I have to make something happen, or else how am I going to get paid? Because Trader Joe's isn't paying me right now. I don't work there.
Right.
So, and then needing to be famous. And maybe these are my own issues. Everybody has their own little, things. But I found that those two things in particular, if I let them sit at the head of the table, I was driven to very unhealthy places for me, physically, emotionally, spiritually, relationally. And so, but once I really got under the surface of all of that and named them, I realized, well, fame and fortune isn't even real. I don't even know what that is. It's that unattainable, whatever. And once you sort of see it, then you can relax all of that. And then you get back to what you're really trying to do, which is, again, love people, help people, serve people.
Exactly.
But I think it's good to be aware of what might be an unconscious fuel that's running your car, and check in with that.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. That's really good. And of course, if it's a imposter fuel, the car is going to break down soon. So,
And I did that too.
really good.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So we also saw on your website that you have a community that's called the Replenish community. And we were interested in finding out what that community is and how somebody can get involved in it and just what does it all entail?
Yeah. Well, thanks for pointing this out. I'm really trying to grow this online group of women. I talk to a lot of women. And there's a few things that they are saying they want. They want to be seen and heard, of course, known and loved like everyone, but they want to be listened to. They want to have what maybe you could call it a deeper conversation, more authentic, vulnerable on the deeper themes of life. And they want it to be supportive, but not fixing. And they don't want to lead it.
Yes. Okay.
So I'm like, okay, well, I'll just make that then.
Yes.
And so Replenish really is that. It's a safe, sacred online coaching and community for women. It's not that big right now. There's probably about 80 women in there.
Okay.
We have a growing resource library. There's 2 other mentors in there with me, and we put interviews with experts in there. We have our own mentor conversations where we're coaching you and giving you practices. There's downloads so that you can spend time with God and journaling. It's a resource library, but we also have 2 live Zooms a month. So you could come in live with us and meet other women. You have 2 opportunities to do that every month. So it's not even rocket science. It's just women, mentoring, coaching other women. The women who come in there, I have to say, are really stellar and amazing humans. I mean, they're Christian women. They are therapists, spiritual directors, educators. Some are retired missionaries.
Okay.
Some are pastors. I mean, these are women who are all still thrivingly caring for others, even if it's just their own family. A lot of us are finding ourselves with adult children and aging parents, and those conversations go on. But anyway, so if you wanted to know more about Replenish, it's one of the lowest cost things we offer. It's just a monthly membership. It's unhurriedliving.com/replenish.
Okay.
You can check it out. And I love it. I'm trying to gather all the women who are looking for a place to be, to share with other women like them.
Yes.
Okay. That's great
wonderful.
that you shared that, because I was just going to ask you that. How could people find out about your soul care programs, Replenish and Unhurried Living? But I guess I'll piggyback off of that and just say, I think what you said
we have a desire for that community and
Mhm.
vulnerability. And I think more than ever, because the voices that we're hearing are screaming. I mean, I feel like we can't relax. We can't
Right.
maybe even speak out because we're afraid of saying something that might offend somebody or cause it. And we need a safe place to process that. And of course, we're doing that with God, but it's really
Mhm.
great to do that in community and
Mhm.
with people that are supportive. And it sounds like too, just even a lot of expert advice in there with people that have walked a long time and have lived this out and probably can really mentor and encourage.
Right.
Yeah. And we have modules in there that touch every, well, the important themes of our life, like spiritual, physical, emotional, relational, vocational. And so we have a different theme every month.
Okay.
And it's even whatever, if I'm doing a soul care group or a coaching group or even in Replenish, I think something you said is very important. I foster a non-judgmental, non-fixing,
Mm.
healthy listening,
Mhm.
appropriate vulnerability,
Mm-hmm.
and the women who come in really get it.
Mhm.
I'm very clear up front whenever I'm guiding one of these things. This is the kind of space we're getting. So there's no crosstalk. There's no, oh, you know what you need to do? We're not doing
Mhm.
that to each other. We're listening. We're holding
Yeah.
space because every woman is growing. And
Mm-hmm.
so far, as far as I can tell, no one's in there doing heresy. But you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Right.
I think
Right.
you guys,
Right.
you're nodding your head. So you know what I mean. Don't you
Mhm.
want to have a place where you can just say what you need to say
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
and and pretty much no matter what a woman says, the other women are nodding their heads. They know.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
And it's great to have that sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So as we wind down our time with you, we've talked about this actually already a fair amount, but I'll ask a little bit further. Can you give us some specific thoughts and ideas about community, about living in community, about doing life together, and why that is just really an important piece of our journey through life?
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, if we're using Jesus as our example for soul care, we can use the Trinity as our example, right?
That's
For
true.
community,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Father, Son, and Spirit. Our church's name is Holy Trinity. And
Okay.
so in recent years, I've come to rely on the Trinity as a whole in ways I don't know that I really did before.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if I gave it that much thought, actually. I knew there was a Father, Son, and Spirit, but there's something about knowing that we're embraced in Trinitarian love.
Hmm.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I think that's my model for community. All of them perfectly pointing to the other in grace,
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
right? Oh, here's my son whom I love, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus has left the spirit within us to guide and to nurture. And so um, we need each other.
Yes.
We need each other. And there's so many reasons not to engage community. We might have fears. We
Mhm.
might have been hurt.
Mhm.
We might not even know how to go about getting it. I mean, there's so many reasons why.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but what we can receive in community are some of the words I think we've already mentioned: presence,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
listening,
Mm-hmm.
support,
Mm.
empathy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And even if you don't know, see, the women who come to some of the things that I facilitate, they're saying it's hard sometimes to find exactly that kind of thing where they actually live. Some women have found it and some women struggle, which is another reason why I created Replenish, because I know it's online and there's a little bit of a distance there, but you'd be surprised. You guys know we're connecting right now
Mhm.
online,
Right.
and I can sense your spirit
Mhm.
and I can sense our connectedness here.
Mhm.
Um, it's a place to do that. And in your actual life, wherever you live, is there even one person that you could ask? You might have this sense that you might be a kindred spirit, but you're not sure.
Mm-hmm.
Take a little risk and say, I'm looking for someone I call it spiritual friendship.
Mhm.
Spiritual friendship.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love a place where I could share my heart and no one's going to fix me, but you would just sit with me with God and we would be able to say what we need to say and journey with each other. You know,
Yes.
it's hard sometimes to find an entire group who can meet on a continual basis where you actually live that can do that, but you
Right.
might find one or two,
Right.
right?
Right.
Mm.
Yes,
Mm.
exactly.
Yeah. So I would say on that, then the encouragement would just be take a risk, ask.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sounds like a wonderful community.
it
I
does.
like it.
Yes.
Yes. Well, we're so grateful to have you with us today, Gem. Thank you so much for your time. And friends, we are so grateful for you that you're here with us as well. When we look at January, we look at this idea of looking back, but we also look forward.
Mhm.
And we pray that these interviews truly have been an encouragement and have caused us to stop and ask, is there a better way?
Mm.
We believe when you stop and receive, you will have everything you need to accomplish what God has called you to do.
Gem, thank you so much for being with us today and for just letting us talk with you about community and soul care and so many other things that you shared. It was just also rich. We really, really appreciate it. And friends, we also just want to thank you for joining us here today. And we know that rest is something that we need to be looking into even more deeply because it's fleeting, isn't it? So stay tuned across our social media pages in the next few days so that we can continue to just share this encouragement. And in the meantime, we do pray that your week is sublime and that you live each and every day free above the fray. We'll see you next week.